Hey guys, what's up? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be filming the worst books I read in 2017 video. I know that this video is always a little bit controversial. This video is not meant to be disrespectful to any of the people who love these books or to the authors themselves. These were just all books that I read this year that I was personally disappointed by for one reason or another, which I'll be explaining. But again, these are just my personal opinions, which do tend to be unpopular, and I am aware of that. I've read over 100 books this year, and some of them really fucking sucked. Let's just jump right into it. So starting off my list is number 10 with Until It Fades by K.A. Tucker. First of all, I just want to say that I think that this book made it into my top 10 most disappointing because I was so fucking hyped for this book. The book He Will Be My Ruin by this author is one of my favorite books. I was completely shocked and devastated when I ended up kind of hating this book. So this book is a really boring romance that follows this girl. She lives in a really small town, and she gets knocked up by her teacher when she's in high school. Huge deal. She was the talk of the town. So now she saves this famous hockey player from in a car accident, and she sees his car, it's on fire, and she goes and drags him out of the car, this giant hockey player, and then the car bursts into flames. She saved his life. It was perfect timing. But now she's being blasted all over the news, and she's the talk of the town again, and now she's a 5-year-old daughter, and she's I don't want to be involved in the media. This romance starts to form between her and the hockey player whose life she just saved. The romance is so fucking cheesy. It takes forever for the romance to actually start, and then once it does, it's just very cheesy and cliche and just ugh. And this book is so fucking repetitive, which is the main reason why I got so irritated with it right away, because literally every scene is her talking about the accident and how she's on the news again, and oh my god, I can't be on the news, and oh my god, the news, and oh my god, I can't even be on the news. Fucking every single fucking chapter talks about it, and it was just so annoying. Move past it. Oh my god, it happened. Get over it. Number 9 on my list is Broken Bay by Andrea Dunlop. This book is described as Bridesmaids meets Lost, but it's not. This book is about this group of bridesmaids who goes to this cabin on this island to celebrate their bachelorette party, and then the cabin ends up being a little bit haunted, and so there's paranormal shit happening in this book. The main reason why this book made my list is because this book had so much freaking potential. Does that not sound like one of the coolest premises you've ever heard? Bridesmaids meets Lost, they're going to this weird ass place for their bachelorette party, and then paranormal freaky shit starts happening. I had really high expectations for a premise like that, and then it ended up being so fucking boring. The haunted house just kind of fell into the background and was hardly ever mentioned, and then the main story ended up being revolved around the drama of the bride going missing and them trying to find her, even though they're staying in this really creepy haunted house, and the haunted house ended up having nothing to do with the reason why the bride went missing, which was a total disappointment. And what the fuck was even the point then? It's so short. It's a novella. It's 100 pages, and yet it still ended up being really boring and cliche in that 100 pages. The 8th book on my list is 1,000 Letters. Really another cheesy romance novel. I know, it's you would think I learned, but I don't. He and her were first loves, and then something happened between them, and then he got pissed and he left for the military, and he's been gone for 7 years. But now his dad is dying of cancer, and so he's coming back, and now she's back in the lives of the family because she was always close to his dad. These two main characters are so fucking annoying. If they would just speak to each other, they would solve all their issues, because they spend most of this book just kind of staring at each other from across the room, being oh my god, if he only knew how badly I still wanted him. And then his chapters are oh my god, if only she knew how much I still wanted her. And if y'all just fucking talk, this wouldn't even be a book. The reason why he stopped talking to her in the first place was a load fucking bullshit. And if he really loved her, he would never leave her over something like that. What the fuck? Does he not give a shit about her? Yeah, these two just need to learn how to communicate, and we wouldn't even have a fucking story here. The next one on my list is my most recent read out of all of these, and that is The Wife Between Us. The Goodreads description actually said this. They said, discover the next blockbuster novel of suspense and get ready for the read of your life. How could I not expect super high expectations after reading that? Goodreads, what? After I read this book, I was are you fucking kidding me? Is this a fucking joke? Or follows this girl named Vanessa, who used to be married to this guy named Richard, and Richard is engaged to like somebody else now. Yeah, she's like really fucking jealous. That's pretty much what the entire fucking book is about. I was kind of expecting something like behind her eyes. There's like some kind of secret going on, and there's a couple, but then there's like one other person, and they're just kind of like fucking with them, you know? But like, no, it's nothing like that. It's actually just Vanessa watching. Even around the 200 page mark, I wrote in the book, I was like, is anything gonna fucking ever happen in this book? There's this like plot twist, you know, that happens after part 1, but it's like not even a real plot twist. It's just like, oh, okay, that kind of changes the story, I guess, but like I still don't know what the fuck is going on. The main plot twist of this book for me doesn't happen until the epilogue, which is like, okay, yeah, it was a cool plot twist, I guess, but like, I don't want to wait till the fucking epilogue to have my mind blown, okay? Like, I need to know what's going on way before, because I was gonna give up on this book so many times. Like, this book was my fucking Everest to get through, okay? I was really disappointed by the fact that the main mystery that happens throughout this book is trying to figure out what the fuck happened with Vanessa and Richard, because she's always like, I can't believe what happened between us. He used to be so great, and now, if only she knew what really happened, if only. And then she's like, I need to start a plan of action in order to stop his new fiance from being with him, because if only she knew. And you don't find out until like 200 something pages in it what he did. And when you find out what he did, it's so cliche and tropey and fucking ridiculous. Like, have I not read this book 50 million times? I am just really tired of seeing this trope in mystery books. I've seen it over and over and over and over and over again. If you want to know specifically what I'm talking about, I'll put my spoilery Goodreads review in the description so you can look at that if you're like really curious like what the hell I'm talking about. But like, my god, fucking good lord. Number 6 on my list is The Ghostwriter by Alessandra Torre. It's about this woman who is writing her last novel before she dies. Like, she finds out she's dying, and so she's like, okay, I need to write the last book of my life that's like she's a huge best-selling author, right? And so she's gonna write like the last book in her career that's gonna be like the story of her life. This is like the most boring thriller I've ever read. Constantly brings up the fact that she used to have a husband and a kid. The entire fucking mystery of the book is trying to figure out what the fuck happened with her husband and her kid. Every scene in this book is scenes of her writing the book and struggling to like relive the experiences, but we don't get to hear about those experiences until like the fucking end. So like the entire book is her being like, oh my god, it's so hard for me to write this scene. Oh my god, like I'm reliving it. Oh my god. And you're just like, reliving what? Reliving what? So hard to get into this story when I have no fucking idea what's going on and I cannot connect. This main character is probably maybe the biggest fucking bitch I've ever read about in a book. Like, she is such a bitter bitch, and it's like, I understand now after reading it why she is the way she is, because of all the shit she's been through in her life, but I don't think that's an excuse to treat people the way she does. She's only met her agent like one time because of how like closed off she is from people. She doesn't let anybody like into her life or into her house or whatever. She's like so closed off. Couldn't stand her. I couldn't stand this book. Number 5 on my list, it really fucking kills me that this author is on this list. She should not be on this list. She is one of my favorite authors of all time, and that is Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Every other Taylor Jenkins Reid book that I have read has been some of my favorites of all time. This is her debut novel that I read for the first time this year. A massive disappointment, unfortunately, and I don't want to roast this author in this book, but like, this book was so bad. She meets this guy at a pizza restaurant, and they date for 6 months, and then they get married after 6 months, and then he dies in this freak accident like 9 days after their wedding. This story is broken down into like 2 parts, so we're alternating between before, when they met, and like their marriage and their lives, 6 months ago, and then we're getting the present chapters of her trying to deal with his death and deal with his family who she's never met. And the main reason why this book was so fucking disappointing to me was because the romance was so fucking bad. It was so cheesy, so mediocre, and like the writing read like an Anna Todd book or like a really bad fan fiction. Like, the way they met was just in this pizza store, and he was just like, oh hey, and they were just picking up their pizzas at the same time, and it was just so like uninspired. I didn't like the main character in this one either. She drove me fucking nuts, and like the fact that she thinks, like, I know that your husband just died and that it's really fucking hard for you, but, like, put things into perspective, okay? You just met him, like, 6 months ago. His mom, like, should have the right to, like, you know, have a say in what to do with her son's remains. I mean, like, I know that you were his wife or whatever, but, like, you've been married for 9 days, you've only known him for 6 months, like, it's his mom, like, let his mom handle it if she thinks that she should. She doesn't even know you, okay? Like, he never introduced you to his family. How can you think you know him better than his own fucking family when you've only known him for 6 months? I was so disappointed that I didn't like this book, because I had such high expectations, because it's Taylor fucking Jenkins Reid, one of my favorites, and I was expecting to love this, and I didn't. Next up on my list is Next Year for Sure by Zoey, Leigh, Peterson. This is a gorgeous cover that I was lured in by, and I was actually sent this book for review, so to be fair, I didn't pick this one myself. This book is about this couple named Chris and Catherine, and they've been together for like 9 years, I want to say, and Chris gets this crush on this new girl named Emily, and instead of Catherine like freaking the fuck out about it, she's like, oh hey, let's invite Emily into our relationship. We want to have an open relationship and like whatever, which is fine. I mean, that's kind of what intrigued me about the book in the first place, is the open relationship aspect of it, because I'm really curious about situations like that and just how they would function, you know? So on the very first page of this book, Chris and Catherine sit down at a table to talk about what they should do about Emily. The first fucking page. So you're like, okay, I don't know anything about Chris and Catherine and who the fuck they are, and like, who the fuck is Emily? Like, what? Like, it's brought up right away. There's no character development. Also, the writing in this book drove me fucking crazy and was the main reason why this book is on this list, because there's no quotation marks around the talking. It's supposed to be written in this really like artsy, beautiful way. The style of writing just really drives me crazy, and I guess you would just have to read it for yourself to know exactly what I'm talking about, but the way it's just like, the writing is just chunked into these weird paragraphs, and there's no quotation marks, 100% forgettable and a complete waste of time. Number 3 on my list is We Own Tonight by Corrine Michaels. This is a romance novel. Are you surprised? Nope, me neither. One of the cringiest romance novels I've ever read. Like, every trope ever is in this book. There's this guy named Eli Walsh. He was in this boy band that was like super big a long time ago, and now they're having their reunion tour and he's like 40. There's this girl and she's a police officer, which should be like fucking lit, but it's not. And she is going back to the reunion tour with a bunch of her friends. They get like front row, I think, because, you know. Page 20. He points to her in the audience and he's like, you. She goes up on the stage and he sings to her. Then he like whispers in her ear to like come to his trailer or whatever after the show. She's like, it must be a misunderstanding, right? Like, her insecurity begins already. Like, she's so fucking insecure. It drives me crazy. By page 30, they're already having sex in his trailer. He tells her, you're beautiful, and then she says, I'm average. Oh my god, bitch, don't be one of those girls who just can't take a compliment. Like, you're so annoying. Like, just accept the fact that he thinks you're beautiful. Why do you have to be annoying about it? Right after they have sex, she, like, freaks out and she, like, leaves because she's like, I can't believe I just did something like that. And then he's like, wait, no, don't leave. What the hell are you doing? Is so shocked and devastated by the fact that a woman actually, like, left, like, damaged his fucking ego, that he's like, I need to go track her down in her real life and, like, meet this girl because no girl ever turns me down. I'm like, fucking shit. He goes and finds her at her apartment and she's like, what the fuck you doing here? And he's like, I just need to be with you. She's like, you don't even know me. And he's like, then who are you, Heather? And she's like, I'm just me. Seriously? Doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, I can't. It was just so bad. It was so fucking cheesy. Alright, number 2 on my list is Holding Up the Universe by Jennifer Niven. I don't know why I read another Jennifer Niven book this year. What the fuck was I thinking? This is a very cheesy young adult story between two one-dimensional characters that are very unlikable. The girl in this story is this overweight girl. Like, she talks about how she's I'm not saying she's overweight, she says that she's overweight. She constantly bitches about her weight problems. Like, in every one of her chapters, she's talking about how her weight is such a fucking problem for her, which is fine. Like, I'm not, like, nitpicking about that, but, like, that's all she talks about. That's all there is to her character, is her weight problems. She doesn't talk about anything else. I don't know anything else about her. Then it also follows this boy named Jack, who has this mental illness where he can't recognize people's faces, like even people in his own family. I want to make this clear that I'm not hating on this book because of the mental illnesses or the weight problems. I'm hating on this book because these characters have nothing more to them than their mental illness or their weight. Like, they literally don't talk about anything else. These two characters have no fucking chemistry whatsoever, but it's a young adult romance, so they're gonna be thrown together just because. The most ridiculous thing about this book is that at their high school, they have this thing called the Fat Girl Rodeo, where these freaking little shit faces, these boys, grab onto these fat girls at their school and try to see how long they can hang on to her before she, like, shoves them off. Talk about fucking sexual harassment, oh my god. You want to know the way that our lovely couple in this book meets? Our main character Jack participates in the Fat Girl Rodeo and just latches on to Libby, and then she's like so embarrassed and humiliated because of him. So like, wow, great start to this love story, right? I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, a Fat Girl Rodeo. This is something that our main characters are participating in. Oh my god, I could not stand this book. And besides the main ridiculous, cheesy romance going on in this book, that's just so awkward and there's no chemistry, we just get a bunch of other scenes of all this like random ass high school drama bullshit that I don't give a fuck about. I don't care about either of these main two characters, and after that Fat Girl Rodeo thing, I was so disgusted. Like, I don't even care if Jack was doing it out of pressure from his friends or whatever. I don't care. That's disgusting. You're disgusting. Canceled. Goodbye. Right, and the number one most disappointing worst book of the year for me, probably surprising but not that surprising because of how much I ranted about this book earlier, but it is one of my favorite authors, so that's why this does kind of hurt me, and I'm not trying to be offensive to the author because I love her, but holy fuck, this book was just bad. That is Wish You Were Here by Renee Carlino. I could literally make an entire rant video about all the problems I had with this book. It follows this girl named Charlotte, and Charlotte is a waitress in LA. She meets this guy named Adam who she has a one-night stand with, okay? During their one-night stand, Adam acts like a total creep. Like, he acts really weird and he sends her all these red flags, and she just thinks like that's just part of his charming personality, and so she goes home with him anyway and she sleeps with him, and then that whole night they're like pretending that they've known each other their whole life. The next morning when he wakes up, he's like, oh my god, get out, who are you? Like, he acts like he doesn't know who she is, and he's like really freaked out, and she's like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude, whatever. So she like leaves, and then she spends like the next 6 months being upset over their one night together and being like, why was he so weird the next day, he was so perfect that night, and she like just grieves about it for the next 6 months until she meets this new guy named Seth, who's like such a fucking angel. He's a baseball player, he's so sweet and perfect, and she just treats him like shit because she's not over this situation with Adam. And the main reason why this book is on my list is because Charlotte is the biggest fucking bitch. She's so fucking selfish. It's like she just judges people for everything. Like, she judges her new boyfriend Seth for being a dog person. Who the fuck doesn't like dogs? And like, why are you judging people whether they're dog or cat people? Like, what the fuck? And she judges someone for being in college at the age of 25. Get the fuck off your high horse, you're a waitress. She judges her best friend for wanting to like do something romantic and spontaneous, even though she literally fucking just did that with Adam. So rude and selfish, and just like, oh my god. When you finally learn the reason, you eventually do, you learn the reason why Adam was such a dick to her the next day, and when you learn the reason, this is the most desperate thing I've ever read in a book, where the author tries to make the reader cry. I can't go into how much I dislike this book without giving away spoilers for the book, so like, I'm gonna put my Goodreads link in the description of all my spoilery thoughts, so if you really want to know, then you can just read my spoiler review, because I go way more into it. Yeah, this book just screams, like, are you crying? Did I make you cry yet? Hold up, I'm gonna make you cry. And like, I fucking hate that in books. Like, the feeling of like, I need to cry should come like naturally through beautiful writing and character development, and not just like in your face, sadness, here, make you cry, but you don't give a fuck about these characters, do you? No. It didn't work at all for me. I fucking hated this book. I hate Charlotte. I never even want to think about her ever again. These are all of my worst books of 2017. Yeah, I want to know what is like one of the most disappointing books that you read this year, and why were you disappointed by that? And like, were any of the books you read this year that were huge disappointments to you, like really popular and well-loved books? Because I feel like I'm crazy because Wish You Were Here has really high ratings on Goodreads, and I mean, some of these books do, and it's like, maybe I'm just like missing it. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I will be back soon with more videos like this. Like, my favorite books of the year should be coming up in the next week or so, I want to say. Favorite movies of the year, I'm going to be posting that at some point this month too, and of course my December wrap up at the end of the month, and my 2017 reading survey at the end of the year. Lots of stuff coming up soon. I will see you guys next time. Bye. Because she is... Fuck. I get interrupted by a phone call. When I first like saw it... Shit. But no. Most recently... Bleh. Somebody just pulled up right in front of my house. See, this is awkward when I film in this spot right here because I'm facing a window that's at the very front of my house. So when somebody parks in front of my house or something, or they walk up to my front door, I'm like literally like staring at them. It's so awkward.